Marie Antoinette, French queen, fashion icon, synonymous with extravagance, but behind the glittering facade lie scandals that continue to fuel hatred centuries later. Was she a clueless spendthrift or a misunderstood victim of circumstance? Join the debate as we separate fact from fiction and ask why Marie Antoinette remains such a lightning rod for controversy. Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France before the French Revolution, became one of the most vilified figures of her time. Her life and eventual downfall were significantly shaped by the hostility and animosity directed towards her by various segments of French society. Here are some facts to refute the claims of the image generated about the last queen of France. She had a simple taste for fashion in her youth. Despite later becoming famous for her extravagant gowns and towering hairstyles, Marie Antoinette initially had a preference for simpler, less formal attire when she first arrived in France. However, as queen, she adopted the lavish styles expected of royalty, but in private, she preferred a more natural look. She created a peasant village for fun. At her estate in Versailles, Marie Antoinette built the Hameau de la Reine, the Queen's Hamlet, a small, idealized farm village where she and her friends would dress up as peasants and play at simple country life. This was her way of escaping the rigid court life, though it was heavily criticized for its frivolity in the face of France's real poverty. She was fond of perfume and had her own signature scents. Marie Antoinette was passionate about perfume, and her personal perfumer, Jean-Louis Fargeon, created bespoke fragrances for her. Even during her imprisonment, she requested a lavender-scented handkerchief to ease her anxiety. She was an accomplished harpist. In addition to her love for fashion and lavish parties, Marie Antoinette was also a skilled musician. She played the harp and had a particular love for music, even supporting many musicians and composers, including Christoph Willibald Gluck. She sent secret letters to foreign allies. During the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette sent secret letters to foreign monarchs, including her brother, Emperor Leopold II of Austria, asking for help in saving the French monarchy. She used invisible ink and secret codes in these letters, but unfortunately, they were intercepted, and this only added to the charges of treason against her. She was criticized for loving her children. In a surprising twist, Marie Antoinette's devotion to her children was seen as scandalous by the French court. Royal mothers were expected to be more distant, leaving child-rearing to governesses. Her hands-on approach was viewed as unorthodox and even inappropriate. She popularized the chemise à la reine. Marie Antoinette introduced a style of dress called the chemise à la reine, a light, flowing muslin gown that was far simpler than the stiff, formal gowns of the French court. While it became a fashion trend, the public initially saw it as disrespectful to the traditions of royalty. She was reluctant to marry Louis XVI. Marie Antoinette was only 14 years old when she was married off to the future Louis XVI, and initially she had no desire to marry him. Their relationship started awkwardly, as it took 7 years for the marriage to be consummated, adding pressure and scrutiny from both their families and the court. She tried to escape but failed. In June 1791, Marie Antoinette and her family attempted to flee France in the infamous flight to Varennes. They were caught and arrested halfway to their destination, significantly damaging their already tenuous position with the French people. The botched escape sealed their fate and led to their eventual imprisonment and execution. She was a key player in French-Austrian diplomacy. Marie Antoinette's marriage to Louis XVI was intended to cement the alliance between France and Austria, which had historically been rivals. Throughout her life, she remained close to her Austrian roots, maintaining correspondence with her mother, Empress Maria Theresa, and her brother, Emperor Joseph II. Her hair was shaved off before execution. Before her execution, Marie Antoinette's hair was shaved off as part of the preparation for the guillotine. Once known for her elaborate hairstyles, this act was deeply symbolic of her complete fall from royal privilege to condemned prisoner. These rare facts show different facets of Marie Antoinette's life, highlighting her complexity beyond the caricature often associated with her. But there were also her detractors, Here are some of the key figures associated with the French Queen's downfall. The French populace. The common people resented Marie Antoinette for her extravagant lifestyle at a time when they were suffering from economic hardship, high taxes, and food shortages. Her perceived indifference to their plight earned her the nickname Madame Deficit. Public sentiment was largely shaped by rumours and pamphlets portraying her as frivolous, wasteful, and morally corrupt. These views fueled widespread anger and played a significant role in rallying support for the revolution. Political reformers and revolutionaries. Revolutionary leaders and political reformers saw Marie Antoinette as a symbol of the monarchy's tyranny and corruption. Her resistance to political and economic reforms proposed to address France's dire situation further alienated her from these groups. As the revolution gained momentum, these reformers used her image as a rallying point to galvanize public support for the abolition of the monarchy. The nobility and court factions. Despite being part of the royal family, Marie Antoinette was unpopular among certain factions within the nobility and the court. Her Austrian heritage and her favoritism towards a small circle of friends and advisors caused resentment among other courtiers who felt sidelined. This internal division weakened her position and left her without a unified base of support when the revolution erupted. Foreign powers. Marie Antoinette's marriage to Louis XVI was initially a diplomatic alliance between Austria and France. However, as the revolution progressed, her Austrian ties became a source of suspicion and distrust. Foreign powers, including Austria, became hostile as they saw the destabilization in France as a threat to the old European order. Her foreign connections were perceived as a liability, leading to accusations of treason and espionage. This significantly influenced her trial and eventual execution. Pamphleteers and propagandists, writers and propagandists of the time, played a crucial role in shaping public opinion against Marie Antoinette. They produced sensationalist and often unfounded stories about her personal life and political maneuvers. The proliferation of libels and pamphlets portraying her as immoral and manipulative amplified public outrage and cemented her negative image in the popular consciousness. The phrase, "let them eat cake," is famously attributed to Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France during the French Revolution, but there is no historical evidence that she actually said it. The French phrase, "qu'ils mangent de la brioche," let them eat brioche, is the original wording, and it is often cited as a reflection of royal indifference to the suffering of the common people. Attributed to Marie Antoinette, the quote is widely believed to have been said by Marie Antoinette when she heard that the French peasants had no bread to eat. "Let them eat cake" symbolizes her supposed ignorance of their plight, suggesting that if they lacked bread, a basic necessity, they could simply eat a luxurious food item like cake, or brioche, a rich bread made with butter and eggs. Historians largely agree that Marie Antoinette never said this. The phrase appeared in Jean-Jacques Rousseau's 1767 book Confessions, written when Marie Antoinette was just a child. Rousseau attributes the phrase to an unnamed great princess, but there is no direct evidence linking it to Marie Antoinette. The phrase may have been attributed to her later as part of revolutionary propaganda to paint her as callous and out of touch with the struggles of the French people. Political context. During the lead-up to the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette was already unpopular for her lavish lifestyle, foreign origins, she was Austrian, and perceived influence over King Louis XVI. Many pamphlets and satirical works aimed to tarnish her reputation, portraying her as frivolous, indifferent, and extravagant, making it easy to associate her with such a dismissive statement. Symbolism of the quote. Whether Marie Antoinette said it or not, the phrase has come to symbolize the disconnect between the ruling classes and the common people. It represents the idea of rulers who are oblivious or indifferent to the suffering of the masses, especially in times of crisis or scarcity. While "let them eat cake" is famously linked to Marie Antoinette, there is no historical evidence she ever said it. It was likely a tool of revolutionary propaganda used to discredit her and the monarchy as being out of touch with the suffering of the French people. Significant incidents. The affair of the diamond necklace, 1785. This scandal involved a fraudulent scheme in which Marie Antoinette was falsely implicated in the purchase of an expensive diamond necklace. Though she was innocent, the scandal reinforced public perception of her as extravagant and dishonest. The affair severely damaged her reputation and credibility, making it easier for her enemies to portray her as a corrupt and decadent monarch. The March on Versailles, October 1789. During a period of severe food shortages, a large crowd, mostly women, marched to Versailles to demand bread and express their grievances. They directed much of their anger towards Marie Antoinette, chanting for her death and demanding her presence. This event forced the royal family to relocate to the Tuileries Palace in Paris, where they lived under virtual house arrest. It marked a significant loss of power and freedom for Marie Antoinette. Flight to Varennes, June 1791. The royal family's attempt to flee France and seek asylum with foreign allies ended in failure when they were apprehended in Varennes. The escape attempt was seen as a betrayal and confirmed suspicions of Marie Antoinette's loyalty to Austria. Their capture further eroded trust in the monarchy and intensified calls for its abolition. It also led to more severe restrictions on their movements and interactions. Trial and execution, 1793. Marie Antoinette was tried by the Revolutionary Tribunal, charged with conspiracy against the state, depletion of the treasury, and even false accusations like incest with her son. The trial was more of a political show than a fair legal proceeding. The deeply ingrained hatred and distrust towards her among the populace and revolutionary leaders ensured her conviction and execution by guillotine. These are some of the quotes associated with the Queen before her demise. "Nothing tastes. Rien ne goûte." During the last years of her life, particularly during her imprisonment in the Temple, she reportedly said this while eating. It reflects her deep sorrow and despair after the fall of the monarchy and the loss of her children. "I was a queen, and you took away my crown, a wife, and you killed my husband, a mother, and you deprived me of my children. My blood alone remains. Take it, but do not make me suffer long." This quote is part of her final speech before her execution on October 16, 1793. Marie Antoinette was addressing the Revolutionary Tribunal that condemned her. It reflects her awareness of her complete downfall and her plea for a quick death. "Courage. I have shown it for years. Think you I shall lose it at the moment when my sufferings are to end?" This is another quote attributed to her shortly before her execution. It speaks to her courage and resolve in the face of death. "Pardon me, monsieur, I did not mean to do it." This quote was reportedly her apology to the executioner after accidentally stepping on his foot while ascending the scaffold to the guillotine. It shows her characteristic politeness and composure, even in her final moments. Here are some of the long-term effects on her life and legacy: social isolation and psychological stress. As public and political sentiment turned against her, Marie Antoinette became increasingly isolated. The court's hostility, coupled with the loss of her children and friends, took a significant emotional toll on her. Marie Antoinette had 4 children with her husband, King Louis XVI of France. Their fates were largely shaped by the French Revolution and the downfall of the monarchy. Marie-Thérèse Charlotte, Madame Royale, 1778-1851. The eldest child and only surviving daughter, she was imprisoned with her family during the French Revolution. After her parents were executed, she remained in captivity until 1795 when she was exchanged for French prisoners and sent to Austria. She later married her cousin, Louis Antoine, Duke of Angoulême, but they had no children. She lived much of her life in exile, mainly in Austria and later Britain. Louis-Joseph Xavier François, 1781 to 1789. The eldest son and Dauphin of France, he died at the age of 7 from tuberculosis, well before the Revolution. Louis Charles, Louis XVII, 1785 to 1795. The second son and younger Dauphin. After his father's execution, Louis Charles was declared King Louis XVI by royalists, although he never ruled. He was kept in harsh conditions in the Temple prison during the Revolution, and his health deteriorated. He died in prison at the age of 10, likely due to a combination of neglect, abuse, and illness. Sophie Hélène Beatrix, 1786 to 1787. The youngest child, Sophie, died as an infant before her first birthday from convulsions, possibly related to tuberculosis. Of Marie Antoinette's 4 children, only Marie-Thérèse survived the revolution and lived to adulthood. The decline of royal authority. The relentless attacks on Marie Antoinette contributed to the broader erosion of respect for the monarchy. Her portrayal as a corrupt and uncaring ruler helped to delegitimize Louis XVI's reign and paved the way for revolutionary change. Symbol of revolutionary fury. Even after her death, Marie Antoinette remained a potent symbol of the ancient regime's perceived decadence and tyranny. Her life and fate were used to justify the radical measures taken by revolutionary leaders. Historical reassessment. Over time, historians have re-evaluated Marie Antoinette's role and legacy, recognizing that much of the hatred directed at her was fueled by exaggerations and propaganda. While still a contentious figure, she is now also seen as a tragic victim of her circumstances. Marie Antoinette's life was profoundly impacted by the hatred and animosity directed towards her from various quarters of society. This enmity, shaped by economic distress, political upheaval, and social change, not only led to her downfall, but also played a crucial role in the broader narrative of the French Revolution. Her story remains a compelling example of how public perception and propaganda can influence historical events and the fate of individuals. What she could have done. Possible solutions. Marie Antoinette, the last Queen of France before the French Revolution, became a symbol of the excesses and insensitivity of the monarchy, leading to widespread disdain and eventually her downfall. Even though it is impossible to please everyone. While hindsight provides clarity on her missteps, there are several actions she could have taken to potentially mitigate the hatred directed towards her. These steps fall into the categories of public perception, political acumen, and personal conduct. Avoiding extravagance. Marie Antoinette's lavish spending on fashion, parties, and the creation of the Petit Trianon alienated the public, who were suffering from economic hardship. Demonstrating modesty and restraint in her lifestyle could have resonated better with the populace. Promoting charitable works. Although she did engage in some charitable acts, more visible and consistent support for the poor and underprivileged could have improved her image. Leading by example in philanthropy would have shown solidarity with the common people. Backing financial reforms. Supporting necessary financial reforms proposed by ministers like Jacques Necker could have demonstrated her commitment to addressing France's economic woes. Aligning with such reforms, rather than opposing them, would have painted her as part of the solution rather than the problem. Modernizing the monarchy. Embracing gradual changes towards a more constitutional monarchy, similar to Britain's model, could have preserved the monarchy by aligning it more closely with the evolving political landscape. Staying out of factional politics. Marie Antoinette's involvement in court intrigues and her influence in appointments and dismissals of ministers added to her unpopularity. Maintaining a more neutral and less interventionist stance in politics might have reduced tensions. Diplomacy over aggression. During the early stages of the revolution, pursuing diplomatic solutions and showing a willingness to negotiate could have eased revolutionary fervour. Respect for French customs. Being more sensitive and respectful towards French traditions and customs might have alleviated the perception of her as a foreign influence. She could have made more efforts to integrate and show appreciation for French culture and values. Avoiding scandals. Staying away from controversies, such as the diamond necklace affair, would have prevented further erosion of her reputation. While she was a victim of slander in many instances, maintaining a low profile in potential scandals could have helped. Embodiment of national values. Acting as a unifying figure who represents the values and aspirations of the nation rather than being seen as a divisive and opulent symbol could have garnered more respect and loyalty. Support for King Louis XVI. Providing consistent and visible support for her husband's rule, while encouraging him to connect more effectively with his subjects, might have reinforced the monarchy's image of stability and empathy. Marie Antoinette's path to potentially avoiding widespread hatred would have involved significant personal and political adjustments. Demonstrating empathy, supporting economic and political reforms, and steering clear of extravagance and political intrigues could have created a more favourable perception among the French people. Ultimately, her fate was intertwined with the larger structural issues facing France, but a more astute and conscientious approach could have mitigated some of the hostility and perhaps altered the course of history. Understanding these dynamics offers valuable lessons in leadership, empathy, and the impact of public perception on governance. Love her or loathe her, Marie Antoinette's story is a fascinating glimpse into a tumultuous period in French history.